Hey everybody, welcome to our very next episode of Two Dads, One Car. I am so excited to bring on our next guest. I know I'm excited about all our guests, so yeah, they're just truly awesome. But the reason why I'm excited is an old friend, but he's also our very first magician. That's right, he is an amazing Vancouver-based magician. I'm hoping he can show us some magic tricks on screen. Who knows? But we're going to talk about parenthood, fatherhood. He recently has a newborn as well too, so we're going to dive deep into what it's like to balance your own personal business, but also having a child as well. So I'm sure it's not an uncommon topic for many fathers, but excited to hear and see where this takes us. All right, stay tuned. Let's go. I'm going to go pick him up now. Here we go. Long time no see.
Yes. Well, first things first, you're going to be a dad.
I know, my God.
Congrats, man.
Holy smokes. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I was in the exact same spot. Like, what? I'm going to be a dad in how long?
Probably any day now.
And we're doing a podcast. You might get a phone call right now, and you might have to drop me off.
Yeah.
And
maybe we'll just do live.
In the middle of a street, somewhere.
It'll be live. It'll be like magic,
Yeah.
Kelvin comes in magically. Daughter appears. You get it? We started just recording off the get-go? Sure.
We are, aren't we?
Yeah, we put off the get-go. Okay, sweet. I did a brief intro to you earlier, but maybe you could just introduce to the audience your name and your fatherhood history up to this point.
Awesome. I'm first of all, thank you for having me here, Stephen. This is so good. I feel like you and I are in two different worlds, but so it'll be interesting to exchange what we can talk about, and bring them together. But yeah, my name is Cal. I'm a professional magician, which is kind of an unusual career, and yeah, it's been a blessing, and it's been amazing. And now just adding a father to that job title is kind of the best. But yeah, professional magician for over 21 years. So I have to juggle my calendar. Kind of. It's important to do that because all of my work is usually on the weekends.
Yeah.
So
we're actually doing a magic show now.
yeah. So it's everything's on the weekends, and then the Monday to Thursday is just organizing your life. Wow. So that's kind of the nutshell. So that's who I am. And then how did we meet?
I think it's through Winnie, my best friend Winnie. I think I was at an event or something. Right.
We were doing those nonprofit events and raising charity, and that's how we met. Yeah.
And how old is your daughter?
My son is coming up to 6 weeks now.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
He was born July 6th. 2021.
Yeah.
So yeah, he came out 9 pounds.
Wow.
He came out 9 pounds, so he's a big baby. Probably the biggest baby you'll hear. So yeah, he came out huge, and one of the things I'll talk about, maybe they'll ask me later, is that we had a scheduled C-section, which is very rare, and I'm so glad we did it. I forgot to bring you this chart, but
a chart?
Yeah, we had this chart laid out, if plan A goes well, natural labor. If this happens, C-section. If this happens, C-section. There was this flow chart, and we just said, no, we're going to do C-section, and we scheduled it, and we were so glad we did.
Dude, that's amazing. And I absolutely admire the fact that you're running your own business, and also recently, 6 weeks in, you look alive and well, so that gives me some hope.
Yeah. So our kid is easy, and I think I've seen some of the other guys say communication is so important.
Yeah.
So feeding is going to be every 2 hours, every 3 hours. Mm-hmm. So if you can alternate the feedings, so that you can get the 4-hour block. That's going to be huge.
That's a pro tip right there.
So our feedings are 3 hours apart. So then we get the 6-hour block, right? So feed him, go to sleep. They take over, and then they push 2.5 hours, and then he starts crying at 6 hours. So you get good 6 hours, and that's good. And also we're just excited. He's just a bundle of joy. And actually, I had a really rough night last night.
Oh yeah,
really rough. So you're saying, oh, you look good, but actually it was really rough last night. Yeah, he cried a lot. So just fussy. He's in a growth spurt right now. which happens, and sometimes you do all you can, but he's just gonna cry because he's like uncomfortable, or he's just going through a phase, and there's nothing you can do out of your control, and that's something you're gonna have to come to terms with.
Well, I'm so grateful and appreciate you being on this show, and like even despite a rough last night and just sharing your experience, because really my purpose for this project is just to reconnect with friends, and especially post COVID, to the extent that it's fully post COVID, who knows, but like to really reconnect and kind of learn like behind the scenes what happens there. So thank you.
Happy to share it with. So what's next? What are we talking about today?
I guess the first premise is really understanding, what are the hidden truths of fatherhood, like things that are not as openly shared from the dad's perspective, if there are any.
So there's two that I'll mention. They're not really have to do with fatherhood, but it was just the experience of the labor process. So C-section, I feel like there's this the doctors will kind of outline the risks of both, but then they're always trying to lean you to go to natural labor, and it was a lot of pressure for on us, for them to tell us for us what to do. And I really didn't like how they were kind of like, well, it's up to you, but C-section, there's lots of risks, and they're trying to scare us, like psych us out of the C-section, in a way. And I just didn't enjoy that process, because when we come down to it, the scheduled C-section, we literally showed up at the hospital at 7:30 in the morning, and then we were out of the hospital, like we're out of the surgery room by like 10.
Wow.
Like it was fast, and it was just like a 3-hour very easy process, and it's because we planned everything. So it would have been really painful to go to the labor for 8 hours, and then she's losing a lot of blood or losing a lot of energy or whatever, and then you have to do this, like that's and then you have to recover for 6 weeks. So I just that's one of the things that, if there's anything that looks off about, if Michelle's late or anything that looks off, it's like, can we get a season? I would say that, number one. And then number two, like he came out as a 9-pound baby, so this guy is hungry. He's hungry, right? So and I think there's a lot of encouragement about breastfeeding and how it's potentially help the benefits of breastfeeding. But this guy is hungry, so
so what do you do?
I gotta feed the guy, and when it's out of your control, like when you have anxiety. Like you can't feed, right? You can't do it yourself. So when you're in the hospital for the first week and he's hungry and she can't produce, or he can't latch, like you will feel anxious for sure. Right? And you get to sleep on the floor, so you're doing all of this at the same time. So that was huge for me, and I'm just like, get a bottle, like, because the hospital was they're a little bit cheap on it. They're like, oh, try to it's on demand, or they'll say like, oh, try to get him used to it, because once he goes to bottle, he won't go back. But no, fed is best. He's a 9-pound baby. He's hungry, and he's already going to be eating more than the average baby. So those are the two things I want to kind of bring attention. So like, there's nothing wrong with bottle feeding, nothing wrong with it, and there's nothing wrong with the C-section.
Man, I already learned all I needed to learn already. Thank you for that.
That's my point of view. I mean,
I love it.
I think some people take breastfeeding too far, and to me, it's propaganda of breast is best, but fed is best to me. So those are the two things that kind of were the main checkpoints. And then everything out of that is the same thing as before. About as a dad, there's always things under your control. And that's going to be hard to deal with, because it's like, oh, it's under your control, and mom has to do it. But and that makes you want to get involved, but when really it's under your control.
How do you, when it's outside of control, right? How do you? Because you're like, oh man, what can I do? And you really like, you just massage your wife. You're like, have some flowers.
You have to go clean her food, or just kind of step away, and you have to distract yourself. That's because when it's under control, you can't do anything, right? Like he's crying, and it might be because of skin to skin. So like you can try, but I mean, it's going to be the mother's that's going to be the best. So some things that you just can't. You just have to kind of be productive while instead of just waiting and being anxious.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm grateful for all the tips and things shared. I get the sense that you got to follow your intuition and kind of what makes sense, right?
Yeah, it is huge because and those two stories about the C-section and bottle versus formula, bottle versus breastfeeding, those are the big ones for me. And it was like such a great decision to get him bottled because he was crying. My kid was crying 3 days like nonstop.
Oh my gosh.
And the moment we got home, and he didn't sleep throughout the night. It was literally because, hey, I'm not getting anything.
Yeah.
I'm not getting anything. I need a bottle now. It's
Yeah.
like he's literally saying that. Once he took a bottle, then he fell asleep. It's just like, I'm out. It's just, I'm out, and he just passed out. So it was like these kind of calls you have to make that are really, you have to make them under pressure because the kid's starving.
Oh my gosh.
It's hell. Like your kid's starving, right? But the nurses are like, no, you got to try to latch, try again. No, it's really stressful, So.
My gosh, thank you for sharing those stories, and this is a good segue into really the next topic, really on when your kid's crying, you're not sleeping much, you're doing shows to build your name, and now I'm we have a celebrity here.
Yeah.
Maybe we can sign the camera in a second.
All right, here we go. Don't sell on eBay.
But with your career, because there's a lot of practice involved. And so how have you been able to figure out your schedule? Are you cloning yourself?
Well, I guess being a magician, I guess if I can relate that to being a father, I would say that you put a lot of time practicing on your art.
Yeah.
And that kind of patience and that kind of like determination and that all of that actually makes it easy to take care of a kid.
Oh.
Because you're changing a diaper is just skill, right? So you're gonna be terrible at the second couple diapers, and later on you get good. Like you get your speed gets faster, and then you're going to be able to pack the diaper without leaking or anything like that. So you just get better at your skill of diaper changing, and it's just having a lot of patience and going at it slow. There's nothing wrong with rushing, but you get much faster at it and much better at it. So so as a magician, the only way I can say is like it just takes practice. Practice makes perfect, right? So
how about your schedule? How about your schedule too, right? Because you're saying your shows are on the weekends, and
so that like the schedule is tough, but it's actually really it's really perfect for what I do, because Friday and Saturday, when Fifi goes back to work, Fifi's my wife, so when Fifi goes back to work, then I will be taking care of him on the weekends with help with my parents. Sorry, she will be taking care of him on the weekends with help with my parents, and then during the week, when she goes back to work, it's mostly going to be me. So that makes it awesome to be a magician. Awesome. Like, because I get to spend lots of time with my kid, and that is just something I'm so grateful for. Just the career that I landed in, and being able to spend lots and lots of time with him.
Oh man, there's so much I want to ask. There's so much I want to ask here. First of all, that's amazing, and that does make sense, because especially the weekends is when you're working, your wife's at home, but during the weekdays, that's when you are prepping and doing emails and stuff you can do while holding a baby.
I can step away. I can put him in the playpen. I can so I can manage the on my own. And then I go and meet people and entertain kids and families during the weekends. So it's amazing. It's like it's the best.
Have you had your own new tricks of baby magic? Like, is that a thing?
yeah. Well, I've come up with some stuff.
We don't have a baby here, but like...
yeah, I've come up with some stuff, but
I
haven't been able to post it yet. So, but to-do list for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the schedule, being a full-time magician and being able to work on the weekends and then work during the day to take care of Caden, it's the best. It is literally the best, because, and even on the weekends when I go work, I'm only going out for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and then I come home right away. So that no job really allows you to do that. So that is just so amazing. Go out, work for a couple hours, come back, and then check, make sure they feed him, and then go out again. So there's not many jobs that do allow you to do that. So grateful.
It's definitely like modern fatherhood, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm imagining some of your upbringing might be similar to mine, where like I don't think our parents had the ability to do this, right?
Yeah, and that brings the kind of the next thing I kind of want to share.
Yeah, please.
So yeah, my parents, you know, they go to school, be an accountant, be a lawyer, and I think we've all heard that before. We've all heard it before, right?
Yeah.
And I actually did try to do all of that, and that's when you said like, oh, he's trying to break outside of the wall with magic, and
That's right.
because I did all that. I went to school, I went to college, I saved up for my first car, and then my first house, and I got married at 29, then I got divorced at 31, and then I had to start all over again.
Yeah.
Because what worked from my parents just didn't work, even though I did everything we were supposed to do, right? So that's the time when we met, when I was trying to figure everything out. But because of the pressure from the parents, I will tell you that right now that and it is spoken, it's not unspoken, but the in-laws, like, those are going to be your biggest circle of influence. No matter how many friends and how many network, and you're going on a podcast, we're getting lots of different perspective, but your in-laws and your parents, they're going to be the main circle of influence. And it's their way, right? It's their way. So that is also pretty tough to deal with. So what my wife and I did is we hired someone called a confined nanny.
Oh, yes, you mentioned. What does that mean? Yeah.
It's called a 婆约 in Chinese.
Okay.
And it's confinement nanny. So we know the 30 days that we have to stay home for 30 days, right?
Okay.
So during those 30 days, and especially someone that just gave birth, there's lots of postpartum, like, you're just at home, right? Forget the official postpartum depression term. Just imagine staying at home every day, eating chicken broth. You're gonna that's depressing for anybody. You don't need a condition for that, right? So what a confinement nanny does is they come. She came over 6 days a week. She cooked 2 meals a day, but it's really more than that.
Yeah.
But it's like cooking 2 meals a day. So she came over around 10 a.m. and then would leave around 7 p.m. And she's like an expert on cooking food to have your wife recover, and to things to take care of the baby. And I think the biggest thing, there's a transition period from you living you living your own life, and then Michelle living her own life, to now both of you are living a life together, but you have this thing, this human that has to depend on you. Right, so that transition's very tough. You always have to be alert. Like, you can't turn it off.
Yeah.
Right. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to watch TV, and then so you can't turn it off. And especially for the first month, we're still doing the first month. So because you have this third being, that first month transition is not always. It's not always easy for everyone.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think it's probably a good segue. Usually for these shows, we do a drive-through through coffee, through fried chicken, through all random things. But I think this time we're going to do a drive-through parking lot, park off to the side, and check out the magic.
Drive-through magic.
Drive-through magic. All right, this is going to be the first in
Drive-through
history.
magic.
And I'm excited for this.
I dug into my archives, and I have a bunch of bills here, and the old bills, like the old paper bills. So do you know why, Stephen, they don't use these bills anymore?
don't know why.
Because they're easy to counterfeit. Paper, you just print money, right?
Okay.
You're kind of like the government, right? so they don't make those anymore. But if I take if a magician counterfeits money, they do it a little bit different. What they do is they hold it right about here, and they go like this: 1, 2, bam. I can print.
What?
These are all 20s now, just like that.
Oh my god!
Here, check it out. Give that back to me.
That's amazing.
Okay. There's your trick of the day. Drive-through magic.
Oh my god!
2 dads, 1 car.
Wow. This is drive-through magic. For the future episodes, can I just drive through your place?
Just set up shop. I'll jump in.
My gosh. I think when we were recording last time, we were talking about how, part of magic is curiosity and tapping into that inner child of all of us, because we all get so so droned into this is what you do, these are the labels, but that just gave me so much joy, my friend.
Yes, magic is so special. It's universal, and it's such a language that everybody can understand, and we don't see it enough. I don't think so. It's amazing for me.
Mark my words. This is Kelvin's first and of many magic events and magic shows here on a podcast. So I'm glad to capture you at this stage of the journey before you get too massive.
Yeah. I mean, Vancouver will always be my home. So, I mean, even if I'm world famous, I'm going to come back home. So this is where it's at.
No, I appreciate the love, and I appreciate the help, and I appreciate you being on this show, and I'm sure you're getting booked left and right. The one topic I do want to dive on, and you kind of touched upon it earlier on about really following, the so-called track by your parents, and having got married and divorced right after. But I'm going to take a little bit of a deeper dive here because it's kind of related to parenthood. But what was that journey like?
Yeah, so it's just just growing up being a Vancouver Asian, we all have a similar story where our parents worked so hard overseas. They wanted to they wanted to come over here because our education is better and our quality of life is better. So they worked so hard to come over here and provide that for us. So all they care about is they want us to do better, and they really think that education and going this path, they just put us on this path, and it's this one very rigid path. You have 4 types of job types. Yeah. You have to go to school, and then you have to get married at a certain point, and you have to have multiple kids because you got to keep up with the Joneses, right? You can't just have one kid. One is not enough. You're gonna get one kid, and then they're gonna be, dude, when's the second one coming? It's just going to happen. So you get put on this road where there's all these rules and there's these things to follow. And the big thing for me was that it really took an identity away from you. When a road has just kind of laid out for you, and that's the road you walk into, it was just laid out for me. And that just took away all my freedom in my own mind. So that journey was tough, and but I had to go through it. I had to go through what doesn't work, and I had to go through all of it just to figure out that, okay, this doesn't work for me. So I have to go create my own path.
That's amazing. And I was reflecting on it this morning. I do like a weekly mastermind, and I was talking about, I was chatting with a friend about how, when you're going down this path that's not really yours, right? You kind of lose that sense of identity, and it kind of affects the rest of your life.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time trying to make your peers and your family happy and the people that love you proud. But we're missing everybody. We're trying to make everybody happy, but we're missing the most important person, which is yourself. And your reasons for waking up and getting out of bed. If there's something that doesn't inspire or motivate me, I do not. Like, I am bad. I am not. It is hard for me to get out of bed. So it really you really have to find those things that really drive you, and that's super important.
What was that like low point? Like, was it the divorce? And there's like, oh my gosh, now I gotta shit. Like, what was that?
It was during because when you're going through a divorce, the last thing you actually want to do is divorce. You want to do everything you can to keep it together and make a relationship work. Because you getting married, it means you're spending the rest of your life with this person, and you're committing it no matter what. So you make all these promises and you're trying to make it work. So at the very, very end, when you're like, I've tried everything and it's just not working, and the feeling of walking away, that's the most difficult.
I can only reflect back on, when we're talking about like modern fatherhood, and reflecting back on even some parents, and the kid is that, this is the glue to the family, but there's so much pressure on this one child.
Yeah.
Right? And
so everything comes from so I've read in a few books, everything does come from the parents, like the way we're brought up as individuals. Our parents aren't perfect.
Yeah.
They're just not, there's just no such thing as perfect parents. So if our parents aren't perfect, that's only going to reflect downwards, and we're not perfect. Yeah. That means we're not going to be perfect parents too, and that's only going to reflect downwards. So we have to make sure we are equipped in our own mind, in our own identity we have to make sure that we're set up for success so that we can pass it on to our children.
Man, you're rewriting the narrative, like not for yourself, but for everybody else who's listening, and I'm listening. it is about rewriting that storyline.
Yeah, it's because everybody says, oh, we're perfect parents, so then we have this perfect child and everything is, we're doing our best, and look how you turned out, you're great. But it's not the case. If we look closer to our parents, there's certain things that they could have done better, and everybody's doing their best, but we have to kind of dig in and find out, well, why do I react this way? Did it come from my upbringing? And if we look into that and we're like, yeah, well, maybe I was like, maybe my parents weren't around enough, and I'm just using it as an example, but maybe my parents weren't around enough, and that's why I feel this way when I dive into a new relationship or whatnot. It's because something happened upstairs that's coming back downstairs. So that's why there's the common things of daddy issues or mother's boy. Those are the two big ones, right? Daddy issues or mother's boy. So when those things happen, that's only going to keep spiraling down further as a parent. So we have to address them along the way.
I mean, this kind of stuff is not really shared about in books.
No, that's the untold. That's the untold.
It's the untold.
It's the untold.
This, my friends, is not talked about enough. And it's not, I just had that click. And if you don't mind me just reflecting on what you said, you know, it kind of reminds me of what my dad said to me not too long ago. And I had a really interesting discussion with him. And he said to me straight up in June, he's like, son, like, I'm really sorry for spanking you. And I want you to break that cycle. Like, straight up said to me, he's like, I did that because, you know, that's how my dad treated me and that's how his dad treated me. But he said up to me straight up, son, I want you to break the cycle. Like, I don't want you to continue that.
Yeah.
And that just, like, I was like, oh my gosh. Right? I kind of knew I didn't want to, but you're right. It's approaching it from this intention.
Yeah. The intention is huge. Absolutely. For sure. If I look back in my divorce, and some of the ways that led up to it, it was probably because of my upbringing, because I didn't get to choose my own path, because I was told things that, you know, this is the way it should be. When I walked into the relationship without an identity, I got trampled all over. Yeah. So that's because I just didn't know who I am, right? So everything comes from our parents. So you know, if there's something that you have to look inside and find out what kind of trauma that you've gone through, and maybe how your parents did their very best, but find out something that was different. Spanking is a good one, and try to fix it as we pass it down. That we have to address it, otherwise it doesn't get better, it gets worse.
Yeah. And I guess the first step to any change is just recognition, right? And I'm sure we're all going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes, right? But approaching it, and I guess the very next natural question is, they're like, well, then how do we do it? Right? Yeah. I don't know if there's an easy answer to that, but what's been, I appreciate that it's only super early, like week 7?
Well, the great thing is that we have so much more knowledge and information today. So we just have to put the time in. Like, you know, Stephen, I wanted to compliment you last time. The fact that you're doing a podcast, the fact that you're meeting with as many people as you can to talk about being a father, you're gonna be a great father. Like, you care. Like, there's so many people out there that don't care. You care so much, and we haven't even started. You haven't even started yet. So, you know, you're gonna be amazing, and like, I think you'll put in the time. You'll just put in the time and effort, and you will be a book of knowledge over the people that don't.
Yeah.
Like, you will naturally set yourself apart from all the other parents there, because all the other parents are just trying to make it through the day, but you're already trying to look forward, you're already trying to prepare, you're doing it all. So I'm commending you for that.
No, I appreciate the compliment, and I fully soak it in. And I'm obviously gonna make mistakes, but I think I don't know where this came from. Like, my idea of success per se is that there's 3 elements, right? And I find that one part of it, yes, it's the career, right? Having that career or that passion. Yeah. The other one is the health side, right? Having that physical fitness. But also the last one is really having family. And I feel like I look at people who have all 3 as like my role models. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I gravitate towards. So whether it's working out, I don't know, but I that's kind of my framework going into these kind of conversations. And, you know, people like yourself, like you have that that amazing, like the tapping into your soul, like that magic, and also you're looking stellar as well. Like there's no dad bod I see right now, and also you have a sense of intention and energy about you. So that's why I appreciate these kind of discussions.
Yeah, that's those three is a good foundation to work off of. It's definitely a good. I mean, I guess there's more like fringe things that you can look at, but those are definitely three pillars that you can definitely circle and focus around for sure.
Man, there's so much I want to soak in and take in, and I'm gonna re-listen to this episode over and over again.
Yeah, I have one buddy.
Please, yeah.
That I just like. He's got two kids. They're 5 and they're 6 and 4 now. They're grown up, and I just bounce him questions all the time. Like bouncing questions all the time, right? So like, face is red. Is that normal? Like I just shoot. I just fire it. Because he's gonna answer it. Your buddy's just gonna be there. You'd be like, yep, that's normal. Or bedtime is important. Staying on a schedule is important. They'll tell you like what time is too late to go to bed, right? So for the kid, or what time is too late to eat dinner for a kid. Like random questions, just fire them at, whether it's one friend or a bunch of friends, just fire them, because it doesn't hurt by asking. In career and stuff like that, yeah, you can ask a question and really look weird, but with your buddies, they'll just be like, oh yeah. So bedtime is 9:30. My kid's bedtime is 9:30. It's always gonna be 9:30. Or my bedtime is at 11. It's and you ask these questions, and you just keep firing at your buddies. Just they're there for you, and you have a big network, and just fire them. If you have a question, just fire it, because they're gonna be like, "Oh, that was a silly question," but you laugh it off, and you're like, "Oh, remember you asked me, if I should wear a bib when I'm putting a kid?" Yeah, I apologize. And then you just laugh at it. It's just whatever, right? But so if you have any kind of burning anything, like just even if it's so minute, just text someone.
Got it. Thank you for that. I always that's something I'm working on. I always have a sense of pride where like I'll figure it out. But there's some things where just being open to help. And so thank you, friends, for listening. I'll be pinging you. And thank you, Kelvin, for that. I guess very last question, just to wrap up the show here. If you had a chance to write a letter to yourself right before the C-section, I mean, you're not the one doing the C-section, but like, you know what I mean? What would you write to yourself?
Follow your gut, follow your instincts, and you and Fifi just continue to follow your instincts. And if you do that correctly, then you guys will be in great shape.
Amazing. This has been such a pleasure. We had our first magic trick as well on the show.
Yes.
But also so many gems of wisdom. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thanks for inviting me. I haven't seen you in so long.
Oh my God.
Before this, so I didn't even know you moved back.
Yeah, surprise. Surprise, we're back. We're really back just to start a family here and lay down our roots. So
awesome.
Thanks for being on the show here, Kelvin. Those who are listening, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening in. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on YouTube. And with that, I'm going to drop off my buddy at his house. He's probably back there. I took the wrong turn. But anyways, with that, see you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace.